Hi, Dr. White. We're all in the same room, and you know that I'll mess this up. So, just to let you know in advance, it'll
Thanks
be
for the
yeah.
knowledge.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I did hear from Dr. Yarbrough. He was going to be a couple minutes late, but in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get this show on the road, so to speak, and let's call this meeting to order. Another fabulous meeting in the Finance and Operations Committee. So jump right into things. I did not have any questions related to the information only items, and I don't see any other committee members on yet. So we'll jump into the abstracts. The first one is with the Commissioners Network Grant. Mr. Foreman?
Well, 1 second. Okay. Yes. Good afternoon. So this is the year 2 of our grant. So this year we were getting $508,000 from the state. And what we are going to use the money for is, of course, we're using it for our teacher stipends that they get for the extra time that they put in in the mornings and the extra staff meeting each month. We also have to pay a portion of the salary for our climate and culture specialists with that money. And we're also using it to hire another. Actually, we're going to have 2 boundless literacy tutors this year instead of 1. So we're using some of that money to pay for the second one. And the rest we're going to use for other branded materials that we can get from the school. Get to help with our beautification of the school. And I think that's it. Yep, that's all we have to do. And it goes with our writing across the curriculum as well. So that's the focus of our grant and the PD that we have for the teachers in the mornings. That's what they use that money for that professional development.
All right, thank you very much. I'll just note that I believe on our staffing guidelines report, having climate culture specialists, I think in all the schools is a goal. Glad we're able to have somebody here through this grant funding. And this is a new position, or is this continuing?
It's a continuing. So we had last year was the first year with the position. This year is the second year. We have a different person in it this year because the person we had last year got a job outside of the district.
All right. Well, thank you very much for presenting. And I had no other questions. And so we'll jump into 3.2, which is Priority School District Grant. Ms. Bonanno?
Yes, so I'm here this evening to present the Priority School District Grant. This is an entitlement grant that comes through the Consolidated Alliance application for Alliance districts in the state of Connecticut. This grant is just about $4.4 million, up just a tiny bit year over year. And the main investments for this grant are for interventions around chronic absenteeism, so supporting 12 dropout prevention specialists and a number of early childhood positions, including the director of early childhood and teaching positions at the Montessori school, 18 paraprofessionals to support kindergarten and first grade instruction across the district, youth development coordinators that help with some of those interventions that we put in place for chronic absenteeism. And that's about it. The main objective of the grant is to support the district's strategic operating plan initiatives.
All right, thank you. I don't have any questions on this incredibly important grant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
You're
presenting that. And we'll move on to 3.3, which is a Michael Bolton Beyond Trauma Grant. Mr. Stevenson.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here to present for services from the Michael Bolton Foundation by way of a music therapist to provide music therapy services to address students with individualized needs and able to cope with their feelings related to abuse, neglect, and trauma. This has been an ongoing opportunity that Riverside has been fortunate to have for the last 7, 8 years or longer. Although the foundation is coming down, so to speak. They believed in the work as much as Riverside has and the success that has occurred over the years for them to have offered 2 years of payment towards the individual who has been on staff with us for the last several years.
All right, thank you. I had no questions, so thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, we will jump into the agreements. The first one is an agreement with the National Career Academy Coalition. Ms. Bonanno?
Yes, so the National Career Academy Coalition is supporting the MSAP funded schools. I know there's a question about vendor selection. So part of the MSAP grant requires that we study and do a rigorous evaluation of an academic intervention. The intervention that we are implementing and studying is career academies that have specific career pathway plans. So you've probably heard Supervisor Natalino talk a bit about the district's work around career pathways, et cetera. The National Career Academy Coalition is the nationally recognized organization that certifies career academies. And so they support school districts all around the country with the implementation of the Career Academy model, which is essentially a smaller learning community within a school. So for example, at Career, we have one large high school, not a comprehensive high school, that has two distinct career academies, one for business and technology, one for health and science. The National Career Academy Coalition works directly with our teams on each of those academies, including the ninth grade teaching team, to support the build out of that structure so that we could then support the individual pathway plans. So in a EMT, phlebotomy is something we're going to be adding. And they help to structure that and provide us the PD around that. So this vendor was selected through the grant writing process when we were putting together our rigorous evaluation, because we need to be able to demonstrate that we will be giving teachers the specific professional development to implement the strategy that we're going to then study its effectiveness.
All right, thank you. I just request that that information or some portion of it be added to the cover memo for the rest of the board, just in case there's questions about how the vendor was selected.
Certainly.
So thank you very much. I had no other questions beyond that. So we'll jump into 4.2, an agreement with Senactech. Mr. Simeoni?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, this is it's called an MDR product, which manages, detects, and responds to any cybersecurity threats within our district's network. And this works 24/7/365. They also have a team of cybersecurity experts that can assist us if a cybersecurity threat does get through and we need to diagnose that threat and go through all the forensics on it. We currently use the software at the city, where we've been using it for a number of years here. It's been very helpful. The team is very knowledgeable. They're also local. They're based out of Felton, Connecticut. There was a question on how are they selected. We did go out to RFP. There were 8 companies that responded to the RFP, and they weren't the highest scored company, but cost-wise, they were much less than the highest scored company.
All right. Thank you for that information. And I had no further questions.
Thank you.
Hearing and seeing none others, we'll jump into 4.3, a non-financial agreement with Gateway. Ms. Jackson?
That is just an agreement for us to be able to use for our transition program to utilize the space for our students. We utilize that where we do some work training with our students in our 18 to 22 program.
All right, thank you. It's pretty straightforward. I had no other.
Oh, can they hear? Oh, sorry. Wait. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. I was just doing a lot of talking. I don't know if you heard me at all.
No, I was able to hear you.
You were able to hear me from across the room? Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And it seems pretty straightforward. I had no further questions. Any other comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, we will jump into the amendments. And the first is 5.1, an amendment to the agreement with Department of Public Health. Ms. Peters?
Yes, good afternoon. This is a cost of living adjustment amendment to our DPH 5-year grant to support school-based health centers. The adjustment is the amount that we're adding is 62,284.30 for over 2 years, the last final 2 years of the grant, which is this year and next year. So it's allowed to go to salaries and fringe benefits as part of the COLA adjustment.
And my question is does this funding source pay for that COLA adjustment?
The source is, yes, the Department of Public Health, who gave us the grant, is the one funding this COLA.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions on this? Hearing none, thank you. We'll go on to 5.2, an amendment to the agreement with Nurses for Daycare. Ms. Derwin?
Good afternoon. This is an amendment to increase our agreement with Nurses for Daycare by $42,065 to add additional services to the scope of services, which includes data input of medical history, immunizations, physical, dental visits, chronic illnesses into the COPA system, which is required by the Head Start program performance standards. There will also be brief attendance at a monthly meeting and also monthly quick audits.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions on this? And I'll just note that looking through all the documentation, this is a large increase. I see the justification, everything here, and just will note that it was originally done through quotes. Here's how the vendor was originally selected, and those quotes were done very recently. So it looks like. So any other comments or questions on this? All right. Hearing none, we will jump into purchase orders. 6.1 is an agreement with NCS Pearson. Ms. Jackson?
Yep, so this is an agreement that a purchase order that we have. This is for our licenses that we utilize for our evaluators for special education. This allows us to be a little bit more efficient. These were protocols that I know there was a question about Pearson and being the sole source. These are the actual protocols that Pearson themselves have created. It's just an online version just to provide some efficiency and make it more user-friendly for our staff.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? So yeah, my comment, that was my question, because the sole source letter dates back to 2006, and recently we've been seeing city purchasing agent having 3-year sole source letters. And so I just think we need a confirmation that the sole source designation still works, or do we need a new letter based on their new way of doing things? So, and if we could just get confirmation on that this week by posting, then that would be helpful. All right. Seeing nothing else on that, we will jump into 6.2, an amendment to the agreement for Highland Seating, I believe. Dr. White?
Yes, this is for the replacement of seating in the Conti Auditorium, and continue to work on that, and slight adjustment in costs that have to get the project completed.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on that? My only comment is a request, if we could just have the percent increase listed inside in the description for this. Other board members like to see that, so. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll jump into contracts. 7.1 is with, was it Pasquarello Electric Corporation, Dr. White?
Yes, this was a sealed bid for electricians. This will supplement our tradesmen as they perform work. For some, obviously, we have more work than we have electricians in the district. So this is to help manage that work. And this, as I said, this was done through the sealed bid process.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions? I had none either. We'll jump to 7.2, an agreement with a Vaz Caulking LLC. Dr. White?
Yes, and this is to work on the numerous glass issues we have across the district. Again, supporting trades and working to complete all of the projects that we have. This one was done through the small contractor development program, which is also a bid program, and this was the winner of that bid.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Dr. Yarbrough?
All right, found my microphone. Thank you. And this may be in the notes already. This is for the labor cost and not the cost of the material. Is that correct? Or is this both?
I would have to double check that. These were bids that were started prior to my work. So okay. I would have to just double check if that doesn't include materials.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Pagan has a little more to share to support that.
Yes, that includes materials as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that information. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll jump to 7.3, award a contract with Save More Cooling and Heating. Dr. White?
Yes, this was an RFP to bid for the replacements of HVAC systems at Edgewood and Lincoln Bassett schools. The vendor, this is a succeeding vendor. There were other applicants, some were disqualified and some didn't meet the requirements. And this was what the committee has selected. We've been doing due diligence of looking over references and found good references, and also particularly checking about the amount of change orders, and it's been very favorable responses to that in our reference check.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on this? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, just a small note. On the documentation, I don't see the funding source named, but I do see it in the agenda item.
Okay, good point. Yeah, I see it's missing too. Thank you for that. My question is this, I'm trying to recall, has this been funded or is this applied for and we're hoping it's funded?
This is a funded project, and right now we're working on requesting an extension to complete it past the December 31st, but right now it's due to be completed by December 31st.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing else on this item? So we'll go into MOUs.
Wait, I have a question. Once again,
sorry,
I didn't get the
Ms.
chance to raise my hand. I was just wondering if we can just separate. Is it the same price for both schools, or is there any way we can separate, the value, just in case, we have any delays?
We can, each were priced out separately, so we can split that out so it's read as such. Because each account does have, each school has a different account number.
Okay, thank you.
So things are applied separately to each school.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just add, because looking at the documentation, I think it's page 7 does break it down. 958,000 for Edgewood and 1.103 million for Lincoln Bassett. It's buried on page 7.
Okay, got it. I was trying to stroll as I was talking. Thanks.
Certainly. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll jump into MOUs. 8.1 MOU with Judicial Branch, State of Connecticut. Ms. Joseph Lumpkin, or Dr. Joseph Lumpkin. My apologies.
No problems. Thank you. This is a agreement with the Connecticut Judicial Branch. It is an earmark for Barack Obama School to serve after-school programs. These earmarks are made from time to time, normally through the recommendation of a local legislator to address issues that could potentially impact violence. This program, this earmark has been specifically directed for an early grade school to ensure that after-school programs and services are provided as a way to ensure that after-school opportunities are available for students who are at risk for potential violence and other issues, including attendance.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, and I may be answering my own question. So it's okay. So it's $75,000 per year. Are we agreeing to in the memo online, just a little heading before you get to the document? It says $75,000 per year. Are we agreeing to both years now? I'm wondering if it should just be worded differently. Should we represent that it's 150,000?
It is 150,000. This is built into the state's 2-year allocation, and so it is $150,000 over 2 years, $75,000 a year.
Okay, and so us accepting this MOU is making that a 2-year relationship, or do we need to go back in year 2 and revisit this?
The MOU, as indicated here, is a 2-year relationship.
Okay, great. So I don't know, but in terms of the agenda item details, Ms. Wilcox, I don't know if you think if we should write $150,000, which covers $75,000 per year, just so that it more clearly captures the full amount. But that's a small suggestion.
We can do that. Yeah, I think we could certainly add that it's $150,000 total over the 2 years. Just to clarify that that's the case. I don't know that it'll have to come back next year or not, because this is money we're receiving, not money we're spending. So I don't know if we'll have to have it come back.
Yeah, so the expectation that this would cover 2 years, as stated in the memo, total allocation $150,000, $75,000 a year for 2 years.
Great, thank you.
So it's similar to an abstract, I guess, which could be multi-year, or sometimes we see them annually because they're
this is definitely 2 years.
Okay. All right, so we might see it again next year just to say yes to year 2 of this, or we might not. But I'm going to trust Ms. DeMayo is going to determine that, or Attorney Oxliades or somebody.
We will certainly clarify that for you, Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hearing nothing else on this, we'll jump into 8.2, which is an MOU with the City of New Haven and the board. Dr. Negron?
Yes, so this is for the approval of the MOU between us and the City of New Haven, so that it would account for the salary reimbursement for one assistant corporation counsel. So basically the arrangement that we have right now, where we get to support the salary that goes towards our representation of legal advice and for the Board of Ed as well. So in essence, supporting with Attorney Alexiada's salary.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions? Attorney Alexiadis?
Yes, good afternoon. I would just add by way of background that the committee members may recall that this arrangement goes back several years and it started some years ago with a partial reimbursement, and then it ultimately expanded to three persons: the Assistant Corporation Counsel, a labor and employment attorney, which was actually never successfully hired, and the procurement coordinator. Now, the procurement coordinator is coming out of Board of Ed budget as it did last year. And the labor and employment attorney, I understand, has been removed from the budget. So that takes us back to one assistant corporation counsel. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, we'll jump into data sharing agreements. 9.1 is with Teach for America. Mr. Nguyen?
Yeah, so this is a MOU with Teach for America to demonstrate the effectiveness of the program. So they're asking us to share specific data of their core members at certain schools in order to see whether or not the program is effective.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for presenting this. I appreciated how in the documentation Teach for America outlined the particular data categories, which they view as essential, which they view as not essential, but would be helpful. My question is from the district's perspective for the program participation information that's not essential, but would be helpful. Is that something the district wants to give up?
Yeah, some of it is with the staff information. It's only with their core members. So they already have information on it. It's just aligning the core members with the individual students that they have. And then what school they're at too.
Yes, I don't. Which part is that in response to?
Well, like,
you go ahead.
So if one of their teachers are teaching a specific course, we would need, that's one of the essentials there for them. But some of it is the gender and race and ethnicity, which I'm pretty sure they already have in that case with their core members, as well as with some of their students too. So and as well as with the assessments, I feel like that is important data for them to measure to see whether or not their core members are effective or
not. Okay. And we want to, guess this is like part C, which talks about student data. Do we want to give does the district want to give the biographical information in terms of race and ethnicity? It doesn't seem to ask for birth date.
We don't give the names of the students, so it's just essentially de-identified.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Hearing nothing else on this, 9.2 is an MOU with Connecticut Violence Intervention and Prevention.
And so this is, I'm sorry.
No, please.
So this is an MOU to assist this program with specific students in order to provide interventions for them. So they need access to the grades, attendance, in order to discuss with the individual students of how to improve and how to prevent violence.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? So, but my one question is this: if we've had a data sharing agreement with this organization in the past, is that correct? Or is this new?
I think this is different. I'm actually not quite sure. I think it's similar in some ways to Youth Connect and
Yes.
other agencies like that, but I don't think we have one specifically with CTVIP. Is that right, Dr. White?
Right. This is new in a sense of going through the full data share process. Um, CTVIP we've been working with for many years, a combination with support of New Haven Public Schools, but also the Youth Bureau for the city as well, where we've been working targeted work for students in crisis that really need support so that we could help stop the trend of their involvement in community violence and working to get them on track that they can succeed in school and in their lives in general in the community.
And then a follow-up on that is, some of this information is, I mean, I understand the need for it, and I understand the need for working with this group, but understanding that this is a new arrangement and this is some pretty sensitive information. How sure are we about their data protection systems that are in place?
I can get more information. I mean, I feel like because they've worked with the city and we've had this relationship with them that they've been very good with the confidentiality or the security of the data. I believe that they have to have permission from the families in order to get this information. So it's not like they're seeking the information first. It's a matter of, well, they want to help the student signs up for the support, and then they are requesting the information to support them.
Okay, thank you. That's a key piece. So this is not students that are selected based on some criteria. This is
They get referred. They get referred either through the police, youth bureau, and in some cases our principals as well. But then it still requires parental permission to engage.
Okay. I think that's a key piece that I'm not seeing on this cover memo, and I just recommend that it's just added. The data will not be shared until after the parent or guardian approves it, and that solves a lot of my issues. Dr. Yarborough, you had your hand up?
Yes, just that I agree with putting the parental information on here, and I think we need to be clear. I'm not clear, but you may know just what are the parents consenting to, and are they giving? Because one of the topics here is family contact information. So is the family giving that contact information, or are we providing that contact information?
No, this is a complete intake for the family. Once CTVIP identifies, they have to engage with the family first as set up an intake where they interview, discuss what's been happening, what supports they need, and from there that's when we would be notified that this person has signed up. We get the permission slip and all of that so that we can have conversations on the parents' behalf as well, but also understand what's happening from education standpoint. CTVIP this year has beefed up their work by bringing on some retired administrators to also support this work. So understanding FERPA and all the regulations that go with that has helped in what they're trying to do in this next phase of their work, detailed work.
Okay. And do we reach out to the families and in a three-way set up the conversation with the CTVIP, or does CTVIP already have the family information? Yeah.
They generally already have the contact information because very frequently these are young people who have been involved in community violence and that so have come into contact with the criminal justice system, not necessarily as a perpetrator, sometimes as a victim. And so it's a combination of supports that are offered.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll just also say that as that's being updated to have the key part about it, the data shared after family permission, that Section A does reference Teach for America and not CTVIP. So it's a little typo there.
Yeah, I sent the updated version to Mr. Mayo this afternoon. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Attorney Alexiadis?
Yes, thank you. Parental consent is in paragraph 8 on page 4 of the agreement attached to the memo. I just thought I would point that out.
Got it. Thank you.
Say that again, please. I missed that.
There is a parental consent clause in the agreement that's attached to the memo that's part of the agenda. It's on page 4 of the PDF in paragraph 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just add a statement up towards the top that says, as outlined in Section 8, parental guardian consent will be obtained first.
Yeah, 4 just says that the personnel can't use the information in additional ways without seeking authorization, but it doesn't necessarily talk about how they get the information in the first place.
Well, but paragraph, I'm sorry, Dr. Yarborough, paragraph 8 says that they'll get, paragraph 8 on page 4 says
okay, I was looking at 4. Okay.
That CTVIP shall obtain consent.
I see. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll jump into 9.3, MOU with McGraw-Hill. Mr. Nguyen?
Yeah, so this is a data sharing agreement in order to use the program Achieve 3000. And they outline the various student fields that they need in order for us to use this valuable reading program called Achieve 3000. I have Dr. Swindler on here as well. I think she's in the group. If we need her for additional questions, she's available.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions on this? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, can you just explain a little bit more how the McGraw-Hill interface and software is used? So teachers use this to provide instruction and also assessments or lessons with students, and students complete this work online. How does it work, please?
Hi, it's Jen Swingler. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
I can. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. So it's an online adaptive program where students go in and they can read both fiction and nonfiction texts, and then are asked to also respond to text. So they do this work in an online adaptive program. We're hopeful to use this at Hill House specifically as a pilot to see how this reading work can impact not only the work in ELA, but also content areas. Again, we're really hopeful that we can use this as a way to increase teachers' understanding of disciplinary literacy. And McGraw-Hill has a 20-year qualitative set of data and quantitative set of data around acceleration growth for kiddos who do go in and read at a minimum 1 article per week. So we see some nice acceleration growth there. So that is what we're hopeful to use the program for.
Thank you very much. And I see in I guess this is a question for the district. I see in the latter pages of the Exhibit B of the agreement that McGraw-Hill relies on the district to write the parents to get parental rights to share data as it relates to this particular program. So the question for the district is, where are we in the process of that, or is that part of what is written here in the documentation?
We have not yet reached out to parents, and I think we were waiting on the approval before we would move forward to ask them for permission, right? Before putting the program out in front of them, we would want to know that we could use it ahead of time. And John, if you had anything else to add to that as far as gaining the parental consent, I would defer to you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure that we could move forward before we do our next steps.
I think, well, one, I think we should include the parental consent information in this documentation. Even in the last one that we looked at, it's referenced, but I don't see the actual form there. So I would like to see it if we have it already developed. And what happens if a parent does not give consent for whatever reason, but the child is still enrolled in a school district and still participates in class? Are they still able to have an account and receive instruction and additional resources that come through this tool?
That's a great question. I anticipate that we could always, teachers have the ability to go in and print articles. So if there was a situation where a parent was not comfortable with a child being online, the only concern would be there is a level set at the beginning. It's a very quick, short assessment to get kiddos in the just right Lexile range. So I would have to do a little more digging into that component because that is an online assessment piece. But as far as access to the materials, and if there was a concern, of course, I'm sure there is a way that we could offer it in print and or download it, for example, and perhaps share it in Google Doc. What they would not get would be that interactive, iterative piece that comes with an online adaptive program, right? You can still have the benefit, of course, of reading the high interest leveled articles, but you wouldn't have that iterative piece that only the background AI technology can do when the child is actually working online, so that they can get the hits within their work, so they can adapt. You know what I mean? But I'm sure there's something that we could figure out for sure.
Okay. And I'm thinking more so that the parent is okay with the child being online, but they wouldn't want the child's transcript to
Information.
be shared. So is there a
Okay.
de-identified profile that can be created, that the teacher can create and that the student can use without sharing their actual name and transcript and other specific information?
That I will have to
Or
do some
their
more
local
digging
ID
on for
number?
you.
Okay.
Yes, like if they did it by like almost a washed, right? I hear what you're saying. John, that isn't anything that the company had talked to you about, correct?
No, it has not. I mean, for most programs, in order for a program to work, it's even you look at like NWA or HMH. I mean, in order for them to use it, they need to have access to the program, and then they can set the data over time about their progress.
What do you mean? Can you say a little bit more, please?
So, for any program that people have access to, in order to see the longitudinal progress of the student, invariably the student would have their data in there in order for the program to see the effectiveness of it.
Yes, I agree with that being true. So, Mr. Wilcox, I guess on my end, yeah, I don't have any more questions. I still wonder just what participation with students can be if parents choose to not share specific information, but their child is still part of the educational system.
Well, I mean, as I'm reading the MOU, I'm seeing this as McGraw saying they're not notifying parents, that
Right.
the district's the responsible party. And so I'm assuming the district's going to handle this the way we handle other similar programs, whether or not we have direct parent permission or not. So, I mean, that might be a larger issue just in terms of, particularly as we more and more rely on some of this software to supplement what the teachers are doing in the classroom. So, but so yeah, I think that's just, if I'm reading the right section, that it looks to me like that's what they're saying is that McGraw is not doing the notification. The district will, and then the district will handle this the way they handle any of the other software packages that we're using.
Yes, that's how I read. I think it's section 11B uh, of the exhibit B. Yeah.
All right.
So so we're okay. Just so legally, just from our point of view, as our attorney is here, we would just notify parents that this is what is being used, and if they had any concerns or questions, they would reach out to us, and that would cover us as far as what the concern is from Dr. Yarborough.
Um, I I don't want to change what the process is for the interaction between um, the district parents and the students, or the district parents, the staff, and working with this software. So whatever the district has in place, um, I think that is what the district should use. I think my question now is a little bit more just on the district side, because I do read what you say in terms of um, the process you work with is the process that the district uses for notifying the parents regarding their child's data. So I think my commentary now is just thinking more about us as a district and how we're navigating this. In terms of that particular part, 11B, that you have in here, it's clear for me, I guess, that you've given the process and procedure to the district, and the data that the district gives you, then you're then able to use in the service you provide us. I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't want to.
I'll follow up with John offline. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And just as a add on to that, it might be something that, the beginning of the year paperwork that I recall filling out, if there's a blanket statement that just kind of says that there's going to be types of this kind of software used.
Mm-hmm.
In order to be able to use it, you're going to need to, there will be some data sharing, and then maybe linking to data sharing policy or statement on that is the minimum amount needed for the software to work.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. So kind of similar, like when you sign like a media policy. I'm trying to remember the other forms I used to sign.
Yeah.
Hearing nothing else on this, we'll move on to the resolutions. There are 6 similar ones that we saw last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, rather, I believe, regarding final grant closeouts of grant in construction projects. So we can deal with these individually or as a group at this stage. Why don't we start just kind of as a group with Dr. White, just kind of.
Sure. We could chunk the first 3 together. Those are final acceptances for Betsy Ross, Dr. Mayo School, and ESOMS. Of course, in the paperwork, it's referred to as the new Helene Grant, because at that time, the school had not been renamed to Dr. Mayo. So this is the completion acceptance so that we could get our reimbursement as the project is complete.
Any comments or questions on 10.1, 2, or 3? My only comment is maybe it would be, I don't want to mess anything up in terms of what we have to do, but where it says the new Helene Grant project, could we have in parentheses now known as Obama School, or is that going to complicate things? I don't want to complicate things. I can always explain it if there's a question during the meeting. So
I will double check. If it doesn't affect anything, it will be added. If not, it can be explained.
Okay.
And then the other 3, it's for projects we've actually started. This is now the completed information going into Commissioner of Administrative Services. This is for roofs at Hill House, Cross, and Truman School.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions on any of these three? Okay, I have none either. So that's we've gone through all the action items. I did just want to check to see, because I know that other committee members came because of work responsibilities. I might have been a little bit late to the meeting. I just want to make sure that there's no outstanding questions. If people have something on something that was covered before they got here, I want to make sure to create space for that. So hearing nothing on that, I'll go ahead and make the main motion here, and that is I move that we send to the board these 3 abstracts, 3 agreements, 2 amendments, 2 purchase orders, 3 contracts, 2 memorandums of understanding, 3 data sharing agreement, and 6 resolutions as outlined on our agenda.
Okay.
All right, it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Ms. Downer?
Yes.
President Yarborough?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The motion carries. So we will move on into the reports. Next item is a July and August financial reports. Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you, Chairman Wilcox. I will share my screen. Put it up here. All right. Do you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So what I will do, there are 3 reports. And what I did is just for the ease of the presentation, I have them all combined into this one slideshow. You will see the separation between one and the other. But they will all be all 3, 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3. They are all in this same slideshow. And I will let you know when I transition from one to the other. So the financial report, we're going to present the financials for July and August, so through August 2025. As we always begin with the strategic operating plan. Let me move this thing out of here. There you go. And then we'll jump right into what this particular report includes, which is the general funds as of August 31st and also the special funds as of August 31st as well. The total expenditures through August were $17.1 million. That's broken down between the general fund at 11.6 million and the special fund at $5.5 million. These are just for historical context. These are pretty low numbers compared to any other month of the year. As you know, July and August are pretty low in expenses. Salaries are not fully there because of teachers and then so many other expenses. So that way you have an idea of the magnitude of that number. The general fund through August ended with $11.5 million of expenses, if you see here at the bottom of column B. But we also encumbered up to about $67 million of encumbered expenses through August. Now, one of the points that I would like to highlight is that transportation has been fully encumbered at $33 million. This does not include about $3 million of interdistrict funding that will offset at least $3 million out of this total here. So that's also important to highlight. As you see that in only 2 months, we've already encumbered a good chunk of the budget. But that's because at the beginning of the year, we tried to take all the purchase orders that have already been approved and then encumber the funding to make sure that it's already isolated and segregated for that particular purpose. But in reality, the expenses that were actually recognized were 11.5. I think it broke down between about $2.5 million in July and then the other $9 million in August. So as the month goes by, then it increases a little bit more, and September will substantially be more. These are basically the next 3 slides that you will see are basically the breakdown of these numbers that I just provided. So in case that you would like to see the breakdown of any one category, you'll see it on the next 3 slides. So I will kind of skip through these 3 slides. And if you have any questions towards the end of this one report, then we can certainly go back and answer any questions. So these next 3 basically go back to the same 11.5, the $67 million encumbered. It's just broken down in a more detailed manner. Notes that I would like to share with you on this is that this presentation represents only the actual spending through in July and August. It does not show any projection for the rest of the year. I did mention in the past that I was not going to make any projections until I do have at least September numbers, which actually include salaries for teachers. I wanted to have really a good scope of expenses before I can start making projections. Out of district tuition costs will increase as the year progresses. You see that we did encumber about 12, $14 million for out of district tuition, but there will be more that we will be encumbering in the next few months. We will monitor student enrollment outside of district to provide better predictions for the rest of the year. This is something that we are working, or we're going to be working together with the special education department to kind of like establish a more structured process to continue these conversations of making sure that we know exactly, who's enrolled where, so that way we can do better projections. And it's just one of the steps to provide more operation efficiency. Transportation costs for the most part have already been encumbered for the year. I mentioned that in the previous slide, but it does not include any field trips or add-on services. So I just want to be very clear that the number you saw, it's only for the regular transportation, which is the biggest chunk of the budget, but it does not include any field trips or any add-on services that are outside of the contractual portion of the bus services. Transportation cost currently does not reflect the $3 million for the interdistrict grant, so they will offset, a portion of that. And then also, a contract vetting committee has been created and will be fully implemented in the month of October. I mention this now because when you see the contractual line item on the budget, whether it is general funds or special funds, we will be most likely updating this committee on a monthly basis on how we are the results of this vetting committee. So I want to make sure that we establish that foundation here tonight, that this is something that we are very intentionally putting a lot of effort into. And on a monthly basis, we will be kind of providing some results and some outcomes of how this committee is, the results of this committee, and how much we have been able to not only save, but also how much we are vetting these contracts and agreements before they come to FNO. So I can speak about this a little bit more further down when I talked about the budget mitigation portion, which is the third report. The preliminary financial report. Actually, this is not preliminary. This is the actual. Actually, no. This is the special funds. It's just not preliminary. I will fix this before we post it. The financial report through August is that we have received $15.7 million worth of grant funding. Again, this is 15.7 out of potentially 80, $90 million of grants that we should be receiving at the end of the year. We have already spent 5.5 and encumbered another 7, but this is only through August. I don't know if it's the next slide. On a future slide, I will kind of show you a little bit of what we think we may get for grants. It's just quite too early in the year for us to land on a particular number. We're still waiting for some of the state funding to be identified and to have the exact number. The same thing with the federal government. So we're still up in the air with some of those numbers. So I will give you like a little bit of projection on the future slide. Oh, actually this slide right here. If you look at column E, this is the total anticipated funding for grants is 71 million. Actually, let's look at F, because the F includes the carryover as well. So for this year, we're thinking about $80 million worth of grant funding. The big difference, and I want to highlight this, if you start looking at the numbers one by one, the big difference here between a potential $80 million of grant funding and the 107 that we had last year is two items. One is the ESSER funding. So you can see towards the bottom, you can see 11, it's probably about $12 million in ESSER funding here. That's a big chunk, $12 million. Then if you look at row number 11, the school readiness is a big change because they changed the structure of the funding. Now, the funding that normally was passed through BOE to pay the providers, now it doesn't pass through the BOE anymore. And I will say that that's between $9-10 million out of the 11 that were passing through us, that now the state will be paying directly to the providers. So that's why the grant funding for school readiness substantially will substantially go down. So between those two alone, that makes up for the difference between the 107 and the 80. If not, we'll be pretty close. And then the carryover funding is also very different. Last year, the carryover funding was greater than the carryover funding that we are projecting this year. So that also plays into the big difference. So I'm answering that question because that was the first thing that I wanted to address and identify the big difference between last year and this year in grant funding. This is the breakdown of how the grant funds will be used in different categories. So this is the end of that financial report through August. So I want to kind of take a pause here to provide an opportunity for any questions before I change topics to the next report. Are there any questions, any comments? All right. Seeing no, I hope that's a good thing. Seeing no, let's move on to the next report. The next report will be the 24-25 year-end report. So this is the general fund. This is general funds only. I will focus on this corner, bottom right corner here, which is showing a deficit of $4.4 million deficit at the end of fiscal year 25. There are two things to kind of point out in this particular report. First of all, when I got here, we were talking about a $7-9 million deficit. So I'm pretty happy that we got that down to half of it. But then on top of that, let's also talk about the note that I have here at the bottom. This does not account for the $3 million that the city of New Haven, through the alders, had already approved as a contingency funding or gap funding to mitigate the budget for FY25. So technically, after the 4.4, you deduct another $3 million that the city will be putting towards the deficit. The ending deficit, the adjusted ending deficit is really $1.4 million. Now, this 4.4 includes a little bit of pending transactions. I'm doing this report today, and we are still in time to change FY25 revenue. If we receive government funding, my belief is that we have up to 90 days after the end of the fiscal year for government funding to be applied. And I would say 95% of this amount comes from government funding, meaning local municipal funding, as these are funding that it's owed to us for out-of-district placement or tuition. So there is half of this, a little bit more than half of this has already been sent to us. We're just waiting for that funding to arrive and to be posted before we can actually then make a part of these numbers. So half of it, at least I know it's on its way. And then we're tracking the other half. Hopefully we'll get it before the deadline to adjust the numbers for FY25. But we are definitely thinking that this money should be here on time for FY25, and that's where you get the 4.4. But again, after that, the other 3 million, it will bring it down to 1.4. This is the other slide that I will show before if you have any questions about the deficit or the general fund. This is the grants portion of it for FY25. $107 million. We spent 96. There was still available $11 million towards the end of the year. Any questions about the general fund, the grants for FY25?
One question I have is, what are we doing about that remainder amount once we know what it exactly is? Is this a discussion we have with the city, or?
Yes, you're talking about the general fund, the remaining. Yeah, that's a discussion with the city. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And they are already they know this information. They are already having conversations about that. Any other questions? All right. Perfect. Seeing none, let me move on to the third report. The budget mitigation update. So this is mostly a narrative update, and we can talk more about other items, if need be. But I want to highlight at least the three things that are top of mind and that I feel are the most important ones in the budget mitigation. So as I mentioned before, a contract vetting committee has been, I use the word created, but it's kind of like revived It existed for a little bit of last year, and we are now actually implementing and putting it in place, and will be fully implemented by the end of, by October. The focus is on improving operational efficiencies, which will streamline contract agreements through a decision-making tree process. This is a extremely important process, and it has a lot of different components to it. It's not just about identifying, the funding source, maximizing the grant funding that we have in place for many of these contracts and agreements, but also making sure that we have a structured process to make sure that every agreement, every contract um, is an essential component for our children, for our schools, and that we can allocate the funding necessary for it in the right place at the right time. Also, it's also a process for us, leadership, to understand and know what's happening in the different schools and what's important for every school and for different cohorts of our students. It will also give us an opportunity to find any potential savings by either consolidating contracts, and you've seen in other meetings, you've seen how consolidating some of the contracts have yielded already some positive results. You have a volume of agreements, to different schools for the same item. If you consolidate them into one, potentially you could get some savings out of it. So this will allow for us to evaluate those opportunities and potentially be better stewards of the resources we have by looking at these contracts and agreements from that other lens. The vacancy tracker is kept up to date by Human Resources Department. This list allows for leadership to keep track of the assumed attrition as per the budget mitigation plan. As you remember, part of the mitigation plan was to um, uh, keep track of these vacancies for two reasons. One was to transition staff that came from other schools and reassign them into some of those vacant positions. And the other reason was to eliminate some of those vacant positions in order to create some of the savings we need to mitigate the budget. So this tracker allows for us to keep track of those positions to make sure that they are not filled, but then also make also sure that we do fill the ones that we still have available, that are needed, that are critical, and that are important for our schools to function. So this tracker is out there. We all have access to it, and then that way we can keep track and make sure that the savings that we planned for during this budget mitigation, that we can actually achieve that goal by keeping track of how many of them are still out there. And then number three, the leadership of New Haven Public Schools, we're still in continuous conversation with the New Haven Board of Alders regarding the mayor's ordinance amendment to assign $3 million from state funds for educational purpose as a gap funding measure, contingency funding similar to the year before. We're still in conversations with the Board of Alders, answering their questions and having conversations to make sure that that hopefully this gets approved, as these $3 million is also part of that budget mitigation plan that we presented to you a couple months ago. And that will be the end of that third report. Any questions regarding this budget mitigation?
Comments or questions? President Yarborough?
Yes, thank you for presenting that and having the different trajectories coming on board that you mentioned. One thing maybe we can track are any of the savings that come from this work. In particular, I'm thinking about some of the individual contracts where maybe we look to see if there's a combined contract that we can get. If there are savings realized from that, maybe we can keep track of it in the sense of showing fiscal responsibility or responsiveness. We may hear it, it may come up in an individual board meeting, but if there's an easy way that doesn't create a lot of work that allows us to keep track of it so that we can present where we've saved money, I think that could be useful as we advocate for additional resources.
Thank you. As an update, one of our colleagues from the committee, Assistant Superintendent Camacho, she created the spreadsheet already with all the contracts that are there, with the columns that says, how much it was for how many years, and we're going to keep track through that spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is a core component of this committee, and we're going to be meeting every Friday. So this is on a weekly basis. We're going to be evaluating every contract agreement that gets put through before it makes it to F&O. So we have a very structured process, including that one.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Downer?
Actually, I wanted to thank Mr. Hernandez. Thank you for mentioning, just meeting and keeping us abreast to what's happening because, we've been all talking about the early warning of any kind of budget crisis. So that's really important for our team. So our board. So thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Downer. I'll just add that thank you for the reports and for particularly the last one there, talking about the budget mitigation efforts and where that's going. One or two questions related to that. I don't recall, is the process with the alders completed or is that still in process for the
No, it's still in process. We are exchanging information as they've asked clarifying questions, and we are exchanging information at this point.
Okay. So two things. One is, obviously we'll need to know the outcome of that when it's finalized, and if there's going to be any issues, then I mean, part of these contingency funds are the only way that we were able. The hope for these contingency funds, I'll add, were the only way that we were able to avoid extremely painful layoffs for this year. So, so please let us know as soon as possible, because if we are going to be in a situation where, for whatever reason, those contingency funds aren't going to be available, I guess the question will then be is what are we going to do about it in terms of how we're going to make this up mid-year, which is, of course, anybody that's ever managed a budget, mid-year budget cuts or mid-year changes and assumptions on revenue become very disruptive, to say the least. And so I think, would it be appropriate to have this on one of the October meetings, another budget mitigation update, just to see where things are? Or do you think this is best handled as part of the regular monthly reports on the monthly fund expenditures?
I mean, I'll leave it up to you. These updates can come at any time. So you could put it on the agenda, and if there's something to report, I'll definitely report it right away. And if there isn't, I'll let you know as well. But
Okay.
I think it could be as part of the monthly financial report. That way, I can kind of do both at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my suggestion then would be, and if there's no objection, that we add it to the second October report. The second F&O meeting of the month is where we have the monthly reports. So we'll be hearing the September report towards the end of October. And as you say, that's a good time to provide an update to that. So why don't we just go ahead and add it, Ms. DeMayo, as a discussion item, understanding that it's likely going to be folded together like it was today and as part of your presentation. But I do think it's important we keep an eye on that, because I honestly don't know what we'll do without it. But I'm sure everybody's aware of the situation. And so I want to make sure everybody has the information that's needed so that they can make their decisions at their level. So thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? All right.
Thank you.
Upcoming financial issues that anybody wants to notify the board about that we haven't already talked about?
No.
All right. So we have our data sharing policy. What I am going to do is, Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, I just had something on that topic. I can go after you.
I was just going to say I was going to take a look at all the materials this week just to try to help move this along. And Ms. DeMayo's already sent me some of the information that I requested. And and once I did that, I was going to share the information with the committee and Dr. Negron, Ms. DeMayo, and Mr. Nguyen. So that was my thoughts on it. Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes. This is a request that is a suggestion for this topic. So it's suggestion to the leadership in this committee, and we can decide whether or not to take it up. And one is just so I can get my mind around where we are in terms of data as a district, is to have provide kind of a data summary or data audit as it relates to the tools where we share data out. Because I see individual MOUs coming forward, or before the MOUs were coming forward, we just saw various pieces of software connected with service where we were sharing information. But I personally don't have a big picture of all the different tools that we use and are connected into our data system. And one of the reasons, so one, I'm just trying to get a scope, like where are we? How many tools do we use across all the different schools that we have? And maybe there's a unified approach we can take. The district may already know the information, but I just personally don't have it. I received this note yesterday, just headline news as it relates to TransUnion, one of the three major credit bureaus, that it had a data breach, and it exposed the personal details of over 4.4 million Americans, including social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses. And this is the information that is stolen that can be used to open bank accounts and other things. And this is information that I want to make sure that the companies we work with, that we're just responsible with them, even as they need to be responsible in protecting their data, just that we are responsible on our end, such that as we send our young students out into their young adult lives, that their information is protected and there's already not a profile created about them from their participation in our school district. So I currently think we're doing well, but I don't know. And I want to know if we can amass some of that information so that we can have a sense of how we're doing as a district as it relates to data. And that as we work on the policy, we just share essential things and really try to minimize personally identifiable information of students, their families, and also the staff and teachers. That's all, Mr. Wilcox.
All right, thank you. Dr. Negron?
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Dr. Yarborough, I think like you, our ultimate goal is to ensure that we are protecting, right, all the data that we have, and definitely protecting our students in our databases. As I continue to hear your very thoughtful questions on this topic, which we do all appreciate, I'm starting to wonder if it wouldn't make some sense as we try to respond for your request to get a comprehensive view of when it is that data is collected, data is being shared out, that there may be an opportunity to put this into context. And by that, I mean that so much of the work that we do, for example, inside teaching and learning, because of the way that we go about teaching today, that is very different from decades ago, that so much relies on technology and data and leveraging platforms that now allow for quicker analysis, where decades ago, it was actually humans, right, analyzing data. And now the ease that comes through many of these companies that does require us to engage in these data exchanges, that I'm wondering if there isn't an opportunity to do some of this through the normal work that we do in a given year through different committees. Like, for example, through teaching and learning, because I know a lot of what the curriculum supervisors deal with is coming out of the curriculum or out of the assessments or out of our tier interventions, that I think there's a benefit to having this conversation within that contextual environment, where there are other spaces, right? Like we saw today, like contracts with different partners that they want to offer supports. And in order to have the supports, like the one that we heard today with like the city, right? That when those partnerships happen, in order to bring about supports, they're gonna need access to data, or else they don't know who they're going to service. So I just offer that as a way that we can continue this conversation so that we don't lose track of sometimes why it is that we needed to be able to get us at the services that we're trying to provide for our kids.
Yeah.
Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes. I think that's a good idea and a fine idea. So far, most of what's been presented that I can recall, the reasons for using the services and sharing the data are justified reasons in terms of helping us to understand and actually do the work better, helping the district to understand what's going on with the students learning and to do the work better. So that piece I understand. So yes, it should and can be moved elsewhere. I agree with that. I don't know how fruitful it will be to have a conversation around the uses of the data, because okay, yes, we do want the information that comes from sharing the data. We do want the analysis that comes. How do we do it in a way that doesn't have 20 different vendors all with our students' information? Like, that's the question that I'm interested in. And the challenge is all of the contracts that we are trying to sign with these vendors for services come with some data connected to it. I think that's why the conversation is showing up here in F&O. Now, if there is a way to have an agreement where it's not attached to data and maybe the data piece would be secondary, then it can happen elsewhere. Just like the vendor who was on today, what if a parent doesn't want to share particular information? Can the student still have access to the service? Likely, yes, through a software tool. People make fake profiles and use software all the time. That is not going to lead to very strong analysis and understanding the student's performance over time, and how it tracks with maybe how a student is doing in other areas. So there's probably some middle ground to it. So yes, I'm in favor of the conversation being wherever it needs to be. And I definitely would like our district to take a lead in this and saying, here's how we want to approach data. What are the things we can do in-house? And what is the cost in terms of skill and also finances? Because I think where we really see a lot of this coming up is that the vendors provide a service that we currently don't have in-house, and they're able to provide analysis and tools that we don't make. So it makes sense for us to share data. It's just a lot of data going to a lot of people. Is my perspective, but that may be the wrong perception that I
have. Ms. Red-Hannons?
Yeah, good afternoon. One second. So good afternoon. I'm always interested in this topic when we have it and trying to balance everything. Your question around, maybe, how can we streamline maybe the number of vendors we have is a really good question. And the response is that if we had a vendor that we felt provided high quality core programming, high quality intervention programs, could do it well for literacy and mathematics, we would go with that. But the truth of the matter is, right, there's different components of different programs out there that we find to match our needs in New Haven, our students' needs in New Haven. So we can't just select one because we can see another vendor that may be a better fit, that may be a higher quality than what may be presented for some. As you know, that we have like 3 cycles of when we're really analyzing data. It's the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. But there are intervals in between. And that's what you hear with an Achieve 3000 or Read 180. It's constantly reviewing data every day that the students are putting in information into the system. And so teachers are using those reports. There was one, we had a professional learning, and teachers were talking around, hey, I can now get my lesson plans, and it's individualized and it's personalized for our students. And I think about our strategic operating plan in teaching and learning, when we talk about personalizing learning experiences, like these tools are helping us with that. But I think your question of really, like, we're giving a lot of information to a lot of different vendors, right, is definitely a great observation because it's accurate. And a lot of it is because we can't find one that's going to meet all of our needs.
Duly noted. Thank you.
All right, so I'll just add that, like I said, I'll be taking a look at all the information that's been put together regarding the policy, and I think a previous memo or two from Mr. Nguyen. And I think some of this we can address just making sure that the policy has a very clear statement about we want the minimum amount of data shared, and that at every point the data should be de-identified or used as a surrogate number or something, so student name and things cannot be transmitted unless it's absolutely necessary. So I think there's the policy side. And then I think as a practical side, and also to address one of the things that Dr. Yarbrough was talking about, maybe just if the district could produce it. I imagine there's a list or a spreadsheet or something about current data sharing agreements that are in place just to keep track of when these things are expiring, or what's out there, and each of those will have a link to to information presented to the board when the board approved it. So it's something basic as these are the data sharing agreements, these are the date sheets when are in effect, and this is the link to the information on it. I think would be at least a good start as to what is currently in place, which might help to have some of these other conversations, because there's only going to be more and more data generated through use of these systems as the district relies on them more, and not just this district, but districts around the country that are using these tools that can be so powerful as a supplement to what the teachers and other staff in the classrooms are doing. So perhaps somebody at the district side could take a look. Is that something that's going to be easy to pull together or time consuming? And maybe just let us know at our next meeting how difficult that would be. I don't want to make unnecessary work, but I got to imagine this is being tracked somewhere, just because these are agreements, and agreements have start and end dates that need to be kept track of. Anything else in this item today? Hearing none, this is the end of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Downer, seconded by President Yarbrough. We'll go ahead and vote. Ms. Downer?
Yes.
President Yarbrough?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.